How do you learn who you really are? It's not found in books. It's found on the battlefield.
Or heat wave happened. Like what's that key temperature?
Personally, 110. Anything above 110, there's like a mindset shift when you go out into that kind of heat where it's like, it's no longer like, oh, this sucks, or oh, I'm uncomfortable, I hate this. It's like, get me out of here. I need to get somewhere cool. I'm not safe. I hate this. It just makes you angry, or I don't know, it makes me angry. I hate it. So the summer months are not kind to me as someone who runs hot.
Yeah, during the winter, it's when it hits a negative number, then it's that shit gets real at that point. Yeah.
When you have, what was it? I was at your place I was at Christmas several years ago, and I went. You had one of those thermometers that's like inside your house.
Oh yeah, in the back. Yeah, I was on the back side of the house actually.
And so you had the thermometer on the inside that reads the temperature outside, and you asked me to go check it, and it said 0 degrees. And I just remember you calling out to me, and you were like, "What temperature is it outside?" And I go, "There isn't one."
It says there are no temperatures.
There's not a temperature. Let me call Alex because he was supposed to join. And I'm not sure if he remembered the time. No. Just call him. We were supposed to have a fourth that I don't think you'd had the chance to meet yet, but
I've only met you two. I haven't met anybody else.
Yeah, we normally record with 4, and Alex was able to be available. Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, no, that's his voicemail. All right, maybe he'll pop in at some point. But otherwise, we could just roll with this. This is kind of what I assumed was going to happen anyways.
Yep.
Which one is who for like I know there's a pharmacist and a rocket scientist, right?
Yeah. We actually have a rotating cast, so there's like 7 of us.
Oh wow.
Total. So me and Dr. Ben. This is why we have two Bens. So it's Dr. Ben and Bengineer. Bengineer is the rocket scientist. And then we have Alex and Pat, who are our lawyers. So Alex is the new grad, new hire, just started working, and Pat's the old wise sage. And then Ramon and PJ are our 2 retail pharmacists. Or actually, no, Ramon's not a retail pharmacist anymore. He is a cat pharmacist now.
He's a veterinary pharmacist. Let's be fair to him.
He is a cat pharmacist.
He's not here to make fun of himself. So there it is.
Yeah, that's why I got to take over. It's fine.
Right.
He's like, it's always catnip. That's the answer.
Yeah. Oh, there's like kitty Prozac and like kitty like Xanax, which blows my mind.
Gabapentin.
Yeah, gabapentin for sure.
They prescribe that too.
Uh-huh. You got a really anxious cat, you got to mellow them out, I guess. I don't know. I just wonder if they're just feral cats that they just abducted and then they have to drug them to be chilled out. All right.
They don't do cat therapy. They don't go like, you need exposure therapy. Get a dog. Get a dog. You'll be all set. Have a dog for 1 week, and then after that, the cat will be like, life is good. It's not
an emotional support dog for the cat.
For the cat. Right. That makes sense. Totally.
Does that then have to be a smaller dog than the cat?
No,
it's a bigger protection dog. The
cat's going to do well with that.
The cat walks the dog.
The cat walks the dog. Yeah, that'll totally work.
Awesome. So the theme of the episode was going to be why are people so unhappy, just kind of to play off of your background and to talk about, I don't know, a lot of the problems in our various fields. So I was hoping to have gotten a pharmacist, but both of them are unavailable. But I think at this point, there's plenty to talk about. But the goal is usually to keep it light and fun. I don't know. Did you have any questions? Because I was going to introduce you kind of right off the bat and then roll into it.
I've done 700 of these. We can just go whenever you're ready.
Sounds good. Okay, we've done 27. Why am I asking you? All right.
I'm good.
All right. Welcome back, everyone, to Overqualified Idiots. This is Dan Casey, MD. I'm a primary care sports specialist, and this is a podcast. We are joined by a very special guest today, Rick Yee, the founder and I don't know, CEO. I don't know what to title you, but
there's like 20 titles, man. If you got this right, I'd be like you're the only one.
The
Yeah, I created the Warrior's Way mindset. I'm the author of Everything is a Choice. I've created multiple programs for mindset training. I've built tools for psychology. I've got a podcast called The Battlefield of the Mind. I'm coming out with my second book that's coming out this year. It's The Map Out of Hell, which explains how people work through grief, work through coping mechanisms, understand the attacks, and how to beat the enemies within, which is like fear, doubt, distractions, excuses. And it gets into like the actual step-by-steps that have worked best for thousands of people on how to actually learn how to win the fights inside our head. So if you would have got that right, I'd be like, holy shit, Dan.
Well, I was working on it. I don't think I would have gotten all of that, but that's okay. No, and you've done, and as far as like your background, are you a clinical psychologist, a psychologist?
I'm not a clinical psychologist, so I didn't go through that way. I've got like probably like 90 certifications, because all the training that I've done, I've probably spent about over $100,000 just on like, all right, I want to learn that training. All right, I want to learn this training. All right, cognitive behavioral therapy. All right, life coaching. All right, now we're going to go into this type of neurolinguistic. Now I'm going to go into this. So is it clinical? No, but I've gone into a lot of focused work. And I also, I equate really well with anybody who's like, I do a lot of veteran work. Also people who have grown up in really tough neighborhoods, like the hood, or very tough spaces, or highly abusive homes. I grew up in Sparta. And so when you grow up in abuse, you can relate very easily with people who have been through extreme traumas, PTSDs, abuse, abandonment. When I go through and you look at the sheet with any therapist or a psychologist, they give you usually a sheet that's got like a 1 to 10 rating. And anything that's over 6 is alarming. And as far as what traumas have you gone through, it goes through addiction, abuse, abandonment, molestation. It goes through the whole list. And I am an 8 out of 10 of the bullshit. Only thing was I just wasn't molested. That's about all I got. Everything else
that's a good
I had
thing
covered.
To not.
That's the only. Yeah,
that's a good thing not to have happen.
My damn folks missed one. So
I'm glad you dodged it. I'm glad about the rest. It sounds
at least
like
if I'm digging into repression, I haven't found that one yet. Let's just say.
All right. Well, you've clearly gone through a lot. You clearly do a lot for people who have gone through a lot. So we were very lucky and very happy to have you. So appreciate your time. Appreciate you being here. And so yeah, normally this is a podcast with a doctor, a lawyer, a pharmacist, an engineer coming together to shoot the breeze and share our stories. Today, I am joined also by my brother, Patrick. JD.
Yeah, I'm here. I know that was lost in the intro, but yes, I'm here.
Yeah,
happy to be here.
Anyways, back to Rick. So, the important person. I'm just kidding. Normally, we kick things off with just some small talk, just some casual stuff. I don't know if you wanted to plug anything you had in the works. I don't know much about your books. If you wanted to talk about your second book, because it sounds like that's on the horizon.
Yeah, first book was Everything is a Choice. I co-wrote that with Dr. Orrin Cox, PhD. He's a grief expert, worked in grief psychology for like a lot of his life. But the stuff that him and I have worked together on, we just worked on that where I wrote about 90% of the book, but it was my first book. And this was when I was first getting established. And I was still battling through understanding how doubt worked and things like this. So I'm like, I feel like it's on the right direction. I was really into Stoicism, getting into different philosophies and getting into psychologies that were working, but the first book was designed to be completely indifferent. I am giving you no advice. I am giving you no life experience I need you to do, or here's the right way or wrong way, or this is what worked best. It's most like this is that, this is this, this is this. Choose what you're going to do. Like it's a lot more informational. This next book is now it's a all the classes and the teachings and the hundreds of people I've had in my groups. I've collaborated all of the information for what works best for men, women, across the board, the most common curses that people have generationally, the most common, battles that we have to fight inside of here. And this is where the collaboration of all this information for this is what that is. This is how you explain it as simply as possible. Here's how that thing works to beat it. And then this is the way that's worked for the different strengths that people have. And it goes also into being your own personal warrior type. We have to have a balance between all, but some people are more heart side warrior. Some people are more spirit side or, soul warrior. Some people are more physical or aggressive, like the more body side warriors, and some are mind warriors, and they're more analytical and get more like there has to be a structure to it. And so attack it from your strongest side and don't think that like every person's supposed to be the same style. And that's why it's difficult to do like large groups or large conventions to go like, this is how it's done. Well, it's like, well, you're a different warrior type than that guy. So like a mage can't fight like a barbarian. So do it the right way. And it's really identifying your strengths and tripling down on how to be able to work through all the traumas and the stuff we've been through by simply simplifying extremely complicated things to make it beatable. And it works over and over again.
I love that because I'm a simple person, so I need a simple explanation. I've been listening to your podcast a lot, actually. I drive 8 to 10 hours a week to get to and from my work and various other things. And so I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts. I really like the individualized approach, but I love how actionable a lot of your recommendations and advice and the things you talk about, because you hear a lot of like the modern therapy and the modern sort of approach is kind of tries to be this, what I think of as a one size fits all, and it really not. And to give yourself a battle plan, to give yourself an actionable thing to work on or to do, depending on what your needs are, what your battles you're fighting are. It's very insightful. I really like a lot of your content. I really like a lot of your work. I actually discovered you back in 21 when I had TikTok, and I was like, this guy's got a lot of cool stuff to say. And I've kind of been on that train ever since. I got rid of TikTok because I think I talked about this in a previous episode. I was going through my phone and I was like noticing my data usage, and I saw like a 4 gigabyte upload from my phone to TikTok. And I was like, I don't know what they took or where that's going, but I probably should get off TikTok. So not to deplatform you. Goodness. All right. I'm going to stop talking now.
No,
Patrick.
To be fair, I didn't even have TikTok when we blew up.
Still here.
It sounded like somebody was tap dancing in your room. It sounded like somebody was doing a tap dancing show in there.
Patrick, what do you got going on?
Where I'm at?
Yeah.
I'm in the kitchen.
Yeah, it sounded
And
like
so, yeah, there's a chihuahua, skittering around here.
All right.
So that's what that sound was. But yes, I am still here.
you have the
I
best
keep
mic.
muting myself because I've got, what's that?
You have the best mic on earth. Like this chihuahua sounds like a kid tap dancing.
Yeah, it's a $40, I'm not gonna plug the company, but
Yeah, don't plug it.
it's like the cheapest gaming headset you possibly can get, but it picks up absolutely everything in the background. But you were saying, Rick?
I think there's an echo cancellation button over on the right side here.
Yeah, let me put that on you. All right, Patrick.
I'm just teasing. That chihuahua is like something of a dinosaur. Like, is it a raptor? What's in your kitchen? So
it's like a 7-pound chihuahua.
It's a velociraptor. It's opening doors. So, as far as the TikTok thing, it's funny. I actually, I really, it's funny. I have so much social media that's moving. It's growing really quickly at the moment, and I don't like social media. Like I can't be on it.
I think we'll talk about that a fair amount today.
And my girl, it was actually her TikTok, and she shot me on her TikTok, and like she had like 400 people that would watch her thing, and she shot that video of what are the 3 most basic needs for men. And we were just sitting there having coffee, and I'm like, I'll tell you what it is. I broke that shit down a long time ago. Like, it's simple. Hungry, horny, appreciation. Let me break it down for you. And like the guys were like, yep. Sounds mostly appreciation, mostly honor, respect, appreciate, show, like at least like, cheer your guy on. But the other parts like hungry, horny, we're pretty fucking simple. And you start messing, like you get a hangry guy, you're going to have a little bit of a difficulty communicating with him. You get a guy who, you have a loveless or a lack of intimacy in your relationship. Your guy's going to be, you're going to start having problems in your dynamic. And then if you don't appreciate your guy, you're going to have like massive issues, especially since most of the reason we choose our girls is because they were the best cheerleader. And so like you start taking that stuff away, expect there to be problems, hungry, horny appreciation. And the guys are like, if I was like, anybody good with this? And the guy's like, listen, I'll take that. That sounds pretty fucking good. And
I was going to say the appreciation part. I like that you broke that down more because that gets more nuanced. And I think that changes for a lot of people. But your cheerleader, that's such a good, your partner in life should be your cheerleader. And whether it's men or women, I think that could be argued both ways. But yeah, I feel my best days is when Nicole, unprompted, and my wife's a very introverted person. She's just, she keeps to herself a lot. She's just a quiet person. But the unprompted, I love you or hug, I'm good for the week. Patrick, you haven't spoken much. How are you doing, man? What's new with you?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Warrior, thank you so much for being a part of the information that we have. And you're part of our story as we are a part of yours. It's very much an honor to be able to connect with each other. If you want to know more or you want to get started with working with me or working with our warriors so that you can begin your path to authenticity, strength, leadership, and accountability, this is the way. Together, we are way stronger. Now you get to choose. Do you go forward or keep doing what you've always done? If you stay where you're at, hey, click on some of the stuff and follow what it is. We got motivational stuff. We've got podcasts. We've got more things. Just subscribe and do the stuff and we'll keep you updated. But if you want to start going in, start jumping into what our programs offer and start your journey and being the hero in your own story.
I'm fantastic. I'm on this winning streak that I'm not sure when it's going to end, but
dude, just
had a jury trial. I know the jury trial I was set to have on Tuesday. That prosecution dismissed it on Friday. So good times.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, client's happy. I'm happy. A weekend where I'm not distracted. I'm leaning right back into you, Rick. Some of the problems that I have are getting that distraction from everyday life, focusing on the next challenge that exists for me. I think that's one of my biggest problems and leads to anxiety for me quite often.
It sounds like you're stacking on some stuff. When you're saying distraction, you try and make yourself busy to make it so that you can I don't want to kind of get into this stuff, so I'm just going to keep busy working, or are you looking at stuff like, I don't want to work, I'm going to go into play, or does it get into drinking or emotional eating or watching too much Netflix? Does it get into some sort of time steal or something? Actually,
it prevents me from being in the moment because my brain is not there. I'm in the courtroom doing my job when I should be at home or out relaxing or having a good time, and my brain's there, my body's one place, but my brain's someplace else. That's the distraction I'm talking about. The emotional eating, yeah, I've got that problem too. Of the things you listed, but the other stuff, not the problem. It's more that I'm detached from the present.
Yeah, I had to look up a quote.
Are you still in
Lao Tzu? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I'm cutting in.
Anxiety is in the future, depression is in the past, and peace is in the present.
Exactly. That's what I was looking up. I was like, this sounds familiar. Yeah. I've heard this somewhere.
Yeah, it's a little loud too. Are you still in battle mode in your head, even when you're hanging out with your kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
It makes it tough to be able to kind of compartmentalize when to switch it back and forth. Especially if there's a lot of identity you have surrounded around kicking ass. And it's really tough.
There is.
It's tough to be able to turn it off when who I am is kick ass, and I have to I got a battle coming up, and you're still tactical inside your head, planning out all the different ways. Now, the only difference is this is where I don't believe that people who have anxiety are messed up. I actually challenge traditional, symptom diagnosis of you have anxiety, you need this medication. Well, I actually think that people who have anxiety have heightened creativity and heightened imagination. They can go into possible futures. And in all of these futures, not only are you having the emotions associated with all these possibilities you're creating, which let's just call it what it is. You're time traveling and living through the adventures in your head.
Absolutely.
What other creature does this? This is amazing. What an amazing
superpower.
It's a superpower.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I've been doing that since I was, fairly young, probably 10 or 11, when I first started playing competitive sports, when it wasn't just coach pitch or t-ball. It got to fast pitch, it got to helmets and shoulder pads. Visualizing you doing the thing helps prepare you to do the thing. It's just that, with a little bit of, obsessiveness as an attorney, it has morphed into the same future looking that you're describing. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, being able to do it this way, this is one of those things. I'm going to equate it to something a little bit simpler and then bring it back to how you can train it. Have you guys ever been in like any type of like a combat scenario and you think you had to like, you know, protect yourself or protect somebody else? You ever had anything like that or been around anybody who's been in combat mode?
I mean, beyond like one schoolyard fight and like adjacent to like I've been on the streets next to bar fights and what have you. I have never been in a real life, you know, as you describe it, like combat scenario. No, I wouldn't say that.
I'd say it's happened to me. I mean, I've been in a number of fights, but I guess I don't see that the same of what you're describing.
Well, I'll connect it in a second.
But then one time I watched just a vehicle get walked up on by a gang member and just shot up within about 15, 20 feet from me. And then I have broken up multiple fights and separated other humans from one another and, you know, taking care of business as far as that's concerned, keeping the peace. But
aside from a random car shooting thing, I just mean like the reason I bring this up is how long, if somebody were to attack or come in to assault your wife or your children, would it take for you to go from like calm mode into like attack mode? How long would it take for you to switch modes?
1.5 seconds for me, for sure.
Maybe.
And that's,
I would react immediately.
And that's if you were taking your time. 1.5 is probably you taking your time to switch modes. It'd probably be less than that. Like 0.5. You'd be like, what? And you're already in. Like, and so the reason I bring that up is because a lot of times I see guys who don't understand how to turn that on and off because they haven't trained that like Jason Bourne mode, if you will, where like I see guys who have been in you know, military or combat or in battle often. When they come back to peace, they're checking exits, they're scoping out people's body mannerisms. How's that guy moving? Is he carrying himself? I've already memorized all the license plates on the driveway. You're like, what are you doing, man?
How do you turn off?
Let's get waffles because they're always in like kill mode. And the thing is the reason I bring that up is if it takes you less than 1 second to switch into that mode, why are we in that mode all the time when there isn't danger? And that's kind of the same thing where I bring it back to you is right now you're going into battle inside your head all the time. But how long does it take for you to go into like, all right, I'm having my coffee and reading a paper to switch into courtroom kill mode? It's probably not a long process.
It can be instantaneous and without even knowing it, to be honest.
And that's where the trained to untrained version of that is like, there's a time for battle and then there's a time for peace and there's a time to know when to go back and forth. But if it only takes you less than a second to switch it, it's better to be aware and present on which one I'm doing deliberately. But if you're still in battle mode when it's time to hang out with your daughter or your son or something like that, it's like I got to learn and practice when to switch that at will versus it control me, I control it.
Yeah, I think that, you know, you're talking about a lot of the different similar coping mechanisms that I utilize when that happens. Like, for example, you know, when I'm super stressed about a case, I just remind myself that, you know, nobody's going to be shooting at me. Nobody's going to be physically attacking me. I need to just shut it down. I need to shut it down during my podcast when it should be quiet where I'm podcasting. Yep. You
damn it, you beat me to it, Rick. God damn it. You're faster than I am.
That I'm not going to get shot at, I'm not going to get harmed, and that what is the ultimate, what are the consequences for me if things don't go the way I want it to. And then, you know, detaching myself from the outcome also helps with focus as well, as releasing your attachment with the outcome and focus on the things you can control. And so that's just a couple of, you know, examples of the ways that I deal with it. But I tell you what, Saturday mornings, I still have that on a stressful week, knowing I've got more stuff to do. I get that, still have that inability to switch over. By about Sunday or Saturday afternoon, I don't have any problem through Sunday, even going into Monday morning. I'm usually feel fresh, but I do have that trouble Friday evenings and Saturday mornings to kind of remember that I can shut that off and I can flip that switch.
Well, it's kind of a good thing too, because like if you're able to do it through Saturday, it means like it's able to be done. It's just practice, you know. And I think with more cognitive awareness, but then also, this is one thing I discovered too, with all of us, especially the guys inside of like we all have warriors inside of us. All of us, we have a fighter style inside of us, and it is all four styles. And this is what makes it difficult, is because people are going to triple down and lean into their hardest style, would think that's the only style. And you see people who have only one technique or one mindset towards things, and they truly struggle with other areas. So you'll see people who are only academic and they think that's the answer, or only religious and they think that's the answer, or they're only emotional and they think that's the answer, or they're only work, and that's the answer. And it's somewhere in understanding there's an outlet or balance between all. You have to have pieces, all of it. You can't tell me that, you know, it's all just work and I don't have a soul and a heart. It's like, well, that's not true. You know, yes, you do. You know, you can't say like, oh, well, it's only pray, but it's not about thinking strategically, and it's not about doing any work towards, you know, choices that work in your favor or work towards helping others. No, it's not just pray. You still have to do something. And so it's being able to find a balance within ourselves. And so what I've found is a lot of times there's also a way to outlet on each side. And this is where guys will struggle, because it does take a level up system. This is why you see Buddhist monks on top of a mountain meditating for 60 years, trying to find inner peace, like they're on Kung Fu Panda or something. And I'm just, and what it ends up being is it's not too far from the truth. As you level up each side, and some of you may be real strong one side. So Patrick, you may be real solid mind side, or real strong on let's work ethic and go crush. But like, hey, don't deny that heart side, man. And if you think that you're not a spirit, this isn't a meat suit that's holding who you are as a person, you're wrong. You have to have an outlet on all sides. So what I'll give you examples if you want, just to go like, what are you talking about, Rick? I'll give you examples. All right. We have to have something body side. You see some people go breath work. Some people go workout. Some people do yoga. Some people stretch. Pick your style. How do I do a physical release to feel? I don't care if it's go for a walk. Like, how do I get it out? Like, find something that I have to do physical something. That's body side. Mind side, a lot of times, sometimes you have to just write. And if you're like, I'm going through these scenarios, sometimes you just put the scenarios down and go, those are there. I'll get to those later. Now it's not here, it's there. I can shut that down. And then later when it's time to go in, I can just re-trigger those things back into place. Sometimes you got to pray, or you got to meditate, or you've got to do your affirmations, or find some way that you can kind of soothe the soul a little bit and calm it down. Remember, our soul, you know, holds our purpose. It holds the reason that we exist. It holds a connection to more than just ourselves. And, you know, when people go like, I don't know about all this mumbo jumbo, well, it's the equivalent of like air, or even if you were in Star Wars, it's the Force. You can't see it, but you can feel it. You know, you say we are more than just this spacesuit that we're in that holds this thing. But then you also got heart side too. And a lot of us men, I work with men the most by a lot. A lot of us men, we repress our heart side, like down hard. Suppression is our main system because there's not a lot of empathy for guys. And so crying or even being over the top silly, even in our industries, even though we're still boys at heart, we have to suppress that when we're in work mode. And so we have to push a lot of who we really are down. So there really isn't a lot of outlets emotionally, you know, and so that really can mess us up. And so here you are, if you're only doing one or two sides, it does, you know, the suppression does lead to expression at some point. And you are going to have like, I'm fucking struggling right now. I'm really in my shit. I can't turn this off. I'm in the future, man. I'm like, well, put some of those futures down and let's get to them later.
Is that when I think you've referred to it as the volcanoing, maybe not just in anger, but also just in stress as well?
In all of it. Well, a lot of times, like, I think the stress part does come into, like, if you've taken the time to understand yourself, and please don't let anybody listen to this and go like, am I supposed to already be doing this shit? Triple down on your strongest side first. Then you move to the next one, you move to the next one, you move to the next one. It can take months to years to really get this. So this isn't something like you're supposed to have already done this. No one's teaching this shit. That's why I have classes that I do. Like, you have to learn yourself, because if you're just trying to do it like each other, you're both completely different warrior types. You can't do it the same. You start with your strong side, and then you have somebody show you These are the best ways. Think of it like 4 different martial arts styles. You can't just go like, I'm going to learn jujitsu on my own. Like, you're going to have to go and learn jujitsu with other people who do that style. And then if you take your jujitsu training into Krav Maga, they're going to go elbow, elbow, not grabby, grabby. You're gonna like, I don't understand what you're, no. And if you take, I trained in Sheng Shun, which is Southern Chinese Kung Fu. This was the best defense was not to be there. I don't need to block if I can avoid. I don't need to take those hits. If Patrick looks like he's a strong dude, if he drops a right on me, I don't want to take his body weight into my arm. Freak that. Better to have a miss. Well, then I started learning Muay Thai, and it says go into his hit. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. That's a different style. But there's no way that I can just figure that out. So we have to have people who train in these things. And so this is where like find your personal outlets, find your ways. Now, once you've done all 4 of those, and then you go, now I'm like taking so much of my steam off. Now I can focus. Do I need to keep this clicked on or not? Is it incomplete and need training? Do I have to do more work in this because it's unprepared? Or am I just being overcautious and my strategy is sound? And then you can calm it down a little bit because technically speaking, you're looking into the future. Technically speaking, You're also creating the future. And even more interestingly, and you may be really good at this, all of the arguments that you're creating in the future are against yourself. So if you're having an emotional argument against your wife in your head, you're actually fighting with you and getting mad because you're making up her answers.
Mm-hmm. I love
an excellent point
of that. That's so good. To bring it back, well, this is small talk still. I don't think we've gotten to the meat of the episode. 2 things. One, as Master Oogway, you brought up Kung Fu Panda, so it immediately just made me think, again, another quote. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present. So shout out to Master Oogway. I kind of felt like I came into this episode with the wrong mindset because I'm like, why are people unhappy? I had the best week I've had since I've started working at my new job. I felt for the first time in 2 years like I was making a difference in people's lives, like I wasn't bringing work home and was satisfied in my job. And that happened 4 days in a row. And I'm lucky if that happens once every 2 to 3 weeks. So that's the topic. We touched on anxiety. Rick, you did a master class in about 5 minutes, and I'm thrilled for that. But I wanted to delve into our various fields and our various perspectives, and I wanted Rick, you to give sort of your insights and your, expertise on a lot of these topics that I wanted to touch on. Why are people so unhappy in this modern age and modern world that we live in? And that's a big question. I wanted to break it down, and I figured I'd start with what I consider to be one of the worst things in modern times, is social media. You brought up you don't like social media, and I don't particularly like it either. I think when you look at the rates of depression on college campuses, when Facebook first launched and got popular, rates of depression skyrocketed. They went up as much as I think that if you depending on which study you look at, as much as 20 to 50%. By, granted, they're prospective survey studies, but they're still decent evidence. And so why are people unhappy? I think that there's a lot of this comparison of my life to yours. And what do people post on social media? They post their wins. They post their vacations. They post their best days. They post their their happiest moments. And so people scroll and get addicted to scrolling and seeing all these wins and thinking, oh man, why isn't that happening to me? Why am I not having these awesome things in my life? I'm having a shit day. And then they go and they spend hours looking at other people's great moments. I think that does something to you. I think that really, it's not because there's the empathy of wanting to celebrate your friends and celebrate the people you love. Like, yeah, you got married. Yeah, you got that promotion. Yeah, you got that raise. But I'm a firm believer that comparison is the thief of happiness, that if you're always trying to compare your life to others, you're always going to come up short. So anyways, that was a long-winded sort of intro, but I wanted to get your perspective on social media and your thoughts about happiness in a modern age.
Yeah, I'll get into it. I want to ask you a question first, if that's all right.
Yeah.
You just had the best week ever.
Yeah, it was a good week.
What did you notice was different?
Two things. One, my summer months are just lighter. Instead of seeing 30 or 32 patients, I was seeing 22 to 24, which, depending on the doctor you ask, it's still a lot. But I've built a system where I can see that many and I can do good work, and I feel like I spent enough time on my patients. I was bringing a lot of work home, though, when I was seeing that 30 or 32 patients. It was cutting into my time. I was cutting into my release and outlet time. I was cutting into my sleep. The other part of it is I think I just got a little lucky where I had a lot of patients who were just doing better. I had a lot of patients who listened to me, who did what I asked them to do, who followed through on the plan, which doesn't always happen. And they were getting better. Lo and behold, sometimes I know what I'm talking about. It's weird. And I just saw a lot of them all at the same time. So I'd say there's probably an element of luck there where you just get that job, that immediate gratification of, I know what I'm talking about. Someone listened to me, took my advice, and they're better. Like that fixer mentality that I have. My job is to fix things. I am a fixer. I have always been a fixer. I take that to heart. I take it seriously. And so when I see it manifesting in front of me, and I know that I actually made a difference in someone's life, that's the pat on the back I need. If I get one of those, I'm good for a week. And I got 25. It was fantastic. Those appointments are really quick too, because it's I'm better. What do I do now? I'm keep doing what you're doing. Some of my favorite times, some of the best moments I have are when I'm just not needed. I think Tyler said that in a previous episode, Dr. Tyler. And it's so true. If you're doing great, I'm not going to get in your way. Keep doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. And when something changes or isn't working, come back to me, because that's what I'm here for. That's kind of the bad side of allopathic medicine. You fix things when they've gone wrong instead of trying to prevent them from going wrong in the first place. So I'm going to a lifestyle conference. I'm going to learn how to better educate my patients on not just, because I spend a lot of time talking to patients about diabetes, talking about exercise, talking about sleep. And they're like, okay, I'm here for my knee. Why are you talking about my blood sugars? And it's well, because your diabetes is making your pain worse, because your diabetes is making you gain weight, and your pain it's a load-bearing joint. You're going to get worse. So when people listen to me, when people take my advice to heart and they follow through on the plan that we agreed to, because that's what it is. I'm making recommendations and we build a plan together, not the hierarchical, patriarchal doctor who tells you what to do. We work together. We're a team on this. So that, again, long-winded answer to a straightforward question.
No, you're answering why you had a great week. And I think that there's a lot of things that I miss when it comes to just us as human beings, is oftentimes we're going through things that work, but we're not paying attention to them. Or even when things aren't working, people are asking questions like, why is this happening to me? Or why not me? Or why is this going on? And they're asking the right questions, but they're just not answering them. And so a lot of times people are already experts. They just aren't answering the questions that they're giving themselves as assignments. And so, why did you have a great week? And a lot of times with a little bit of awareness, you can go, well, I had a lighter load. Well, who's in control of how many patients that you have? You're like, oh, well, me having less patients has made it so now I have more balance for self-care, for family, for sleep, or even taking in new information, like going to a conference and taking on personal growth and me mastering another area in my craft. Also, checking in to say, what are the attachments you have on results? And you said, well, I got lucky this week. I said, well, maybe you did get lucky, or maybe you're really good at it. And finally, there's a validation that I'm making a difference, because people are starting to go, my way doesn't work. Let me try your way. And it's working better. It's that's good. Now I feel like I'm making an impact at what I'm doing, because you're actually doing what I said would make an impact. Thank you. Thank you. So that's another win. And so you said one of the things is the best times is not being needed, but it's one of those things where it's a validation that me being needed has given people the best times. And it's one of those things where maybe the answer is in this beautiful week, and raising our awareness of, look at these moments and what's different about this week than a different week. Well, maybe if I cut my patients down and just schedule differently, I can make more impact. Sounds backwards. It seems like the more patients I have, the more impact I can make because I'm seeing more people.
Right.
But you just had one of the best weeks ever with a third of the patients not coming in. And you're like, well, maybe if I change that system, my impact will be different. And trust me, I am actually completely in agreement with you on this one. Most coaches, just so you know, people who do what I do, very rarely will you see them have more than 3 groups at once because that's already an overload. Well, at one point I was running, like if you're running anywhere from like 8, plus people in a group, it's a lot, especially if you work in transformation, not information. A lot of people just want to give information. That's different than like, let's really do the work to transform. Not the same conversation. I work in transformation, so I have to go through each person's thing because it's part of how they learn to battle for themselves. I can't just go, watch the video, read the assignment, you're now a master. That's not the same. It's kind of like having a dojo. You can't just show how to punch, but nobody punches anything. You still have to have your turn to punch. Same concept. I had at one point 8 groups at once. And there's nobody who does that many groups. I'm doing more than twice as much as other coaches would do with this type of work. And I burned out for sure. I was overloaded because here I am working 90 hours, but I'm still writing. I'm still building programs. I'm still coaching other coaches. I'm still doing all these other pieces, but I was burnt out. I thought more was better. But maybe more wasn't better. So I cut it down, and now I don't run more than 5 groups. And I also have trained other coaches to be able to run groups on days that I don't need to be there. Some days are informational and then practice. And some days it's combat, and I have to go in and I teach them how to battle. They're different days. And so I cut my load down by a lot, which has opened up my creativity again. I'm finishing more writing now. I'm expanding more programs. My impact has quadrupled. And I have less people, but now I'm creating a bigger movement. And it's interesting to watch how can less be more. And this is just one example of I've been feeling more fulfilled, more rested, more invigorated, have more fulfillment, more time with my daughters, more time with my girl. And I'm able to be more present in the present. I'm taking care of myself. My self-care has gotten substantially better. My workouts have gotten substantially better. I've changed a lot of things to go more into understanding myself and then where are my limits between a human doing and a human being. And I have to have time where I can be and not just do. But it's really tough because all of us have industries that are heavy on our identity. You are a doctor. You are a lawyer. You are a mental health expert. Like, you are what we do. And that's really tough for men. Across the board is tough for men because there's 2 things. Hi, what's your name? You're like, my name is Dan. And I'm like, what do you do, Dan? It's the first question we all ask. So it's really difficult to not have our identity be highly routed in status or what we do as a job. But what we do is not who we are. And sometimes we forget that. And I forgot that. And so look at your best week ever. It's surrounded with you being able to have less workloads. So you have a higher awareness of the beauty around you in your day, in your life, in your family, your children, and your self-care, even in a longer sleep.
Yeah, I am a cranky boy when I don't get enough sleep. It's true. My mom, when I was a kid, I know there's probably a spectrum of people who can go without sleep. I can push through without sleep, but I'm not a pleasant person. And that's always been the case.
It's true.
Again, he's here, folks. He's here.
I'm just here for the comic relief and
I love it.
the one-liners at the moment.
Yeah, oh my God, that's such your role. Oh, normally, isn't it?
It is.
Patrick, you remind me of I remember we were young, like early 20s, mid 20s. I have a big group of people. We would play drinking games, and one of them we would watch movies. And it would be a drinking game called Extreme Tough Guy Moments. And whenever anybody did an extreme tough guy moment, you got to drink. And you remind me, we messed around one time with Rocky IV and Dolph Lundgren. A couple of the rules were anytime Dolph Lundgren says a line, because he doesn't talk a lot, you got to drink. But every extreme tough guy moment, you have to drink. Well, it turns out every line he did was an extreme tough guy moment. So it's double drinks every time this guy says something. And you kind of remind me of that, like every time Patrick hits something, it's a double whammy. It's like it's a double drink every time.
The straight man of our podcast. It's the dry wit, the deadpan, solid.
I do my best.
I'm still an expert, and I save lives. Still doing it.
Yeah, that's like a
hero work is never done.
That's the interesting thing about our jobs too, is Patrick and I see people on like the worst days of their lives. Like that's a very common denominator, even though our fields are very, very different. And so it's interesting that we have to always be there for people, God, when they're at their unhappiest, when they're at their most stressed, when they're at their worst day, worst version of themselves. So there's a lot to be said for how much we take on and how much we actually do process and work through that.
And you have to, as a young professional, I think that you have to remember that, 99.9% of the things that people say and do have nothing to do with what you're doing or how you reacted to them, and continue to, try to have empathy even for people that are on their normal days prickly and now they're a porcupine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to be mindful of that. And sometimes, when you are a young professional doing the types of things that you and I do, Dan, you take it personal, and that's the last thing that you should do. It will make that relationship more difficult if you take what they say personal and not recognize that, well, I didn't mean that at you. And I'm like, I know you didn't. Don't worry about it. This is what I do. You can call me all the 4-letter words in the book you want. I'm not going to get upset about it. I know you're not upset at me. You're upset about your situation. And yeah, that's not completely understandable. If someone in your position, I would be upset too. I'm not sure I would know how to handle it. I think you're doing all right in your situation, how you're handling it. Reaffirming that these emotions or their feelings that they're having are normal for what they're going through. This is not abnormal. You're not over the top. You're not being overly dramatic. Yeah, your life's going to change, and not in a good way potentially. And you got to figure out how to wrap your brain around it. And again, my favorite line is, I'm a really crappy, overpriced therapist. So you need to find someone who's a little bit more well-trained in that and has more empathy and a softer touch than I do. Because, some days I work with a scalpel, but most other days I work with a sledgehammer and a chainsaw. So
sounds like Rick might be getting some referrals from you. So
it's possible.
I'll help out.
I was gonna say, you guys aren't that far apart either. So, I forgot what my question was. I had a question in there. Oh, social media.
I derailed you.
Rick. Well, it doesn't matter.
Can we back up on the social media though? I mean, I don't even think social media is part of this larger problem, but it's something that I don't know if you ever had Greg Henke when you were in school. May he rest in peace. But instant gratification. I think that is one of the biggest problems that we have is, we have absolutely no delayed gratification. It's just not there anymore. And that is I think that's a huge thing because one of my kids' biggest complaints, I'm bored. Okay. I'm so what? And if they hear it, I don't care. Bring it back to me. Roll it back if you listen to the episode, kiddos. But
if you listen to this, you're grounded.
There it is.
And promoted. You're both.
Yes, there you go. There you're both. But no, I think that's our biggest problem. And I think social media feeds into that as well. And it highlights it almost to a certain extent. But
yeah, it's a good point of view. I don't know if it's our biggest problem. I think that it gets into a combination of multiple factors that are all stacked onto each other, especially when it comes to, like, if you look at the way children are handling things or the way that kids are doing stuff, and, millennials are this and people are doing this wrong and this is bad. There's a lot of judgments that people are putting on what's good and what's bad. Everything will end up working its way out because it ends up doing it anyways. But if we don't like how people are, like our kids are doing stuff, or we don't like what's happening, well, we trained them.
Yeah.
Like that.
Excellent point.
We trained them. Like, if people are like, these
Absolutely.
fucking millennials, they're doing this. It's like, well, who trained them? Well, my generation did. Well, that's us. Like, We did something. What did we do? And is it working or not working? This participation trophy thing, that didn't work. That 15, 20 years of people, they're fucked. My girls, though, 16 and under, I got 16, 15, 13. They're even looking at that and going, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like that, even at this point now, even my girls are looking at this going like, oh, that's not working, because that small generation of like, we don't want to work at give us everything, instant gratification people, they're getting their asses kicked inside out right now, because life doesn't go according to what was taught in school, or mom can call and give you an A or whatever that situation is. And so it'll balance itself out. This is a small moment in time that these poor kids have an uphill battle. They're ice skating uphill. They were just not given a kind of a fair shake, because they try to do the polar opposite of the hard work and dedication and practice and work hard, and it got result driven. And this is where they've done a lot of psychology studies on what works better, like getting a good grade, getting the instant gratification. Did you win or not win? All that stuff has gone more into if you praise effort over results. Praise the work, don't praise the result of work. And that has made it so even with my girls, I do the same thing. I'll give you one example. Our middle daughter, she's a little taller, and she wanted to do track. She's never done track, ever. She's like, I just want to do track. And they're like, you're tall, you're doing hurdles. And she's like, oh, shit. Like, I don't know what that is. And so she's going out and she's running on hurdles. And she's the kid who would try to jump the hurdles, catch the hurdles, and eat shit, scorpion land, kick herself in the back of the head in front of everybody. And she'd get up and she'd go and finish out the race 8th place every single time, last place every time she's going. She's been eating shit on these hurdles every time she jumps. And I would go and see her, and people would be like, oh, you lost again. I would say, hey, I'm extremely proud of you, because when you fall down, you get up. And that character trait makes me so much more proud of you than first place or last place. It's the fact that some people will fall and they'll stay. And some people will fall and they'll walk off and quit. But you get up and then you go finish. It doesn't matter when you finish. And I couldn't be more proud of you. And I praise things like that. When they're working out, I don't go like, yeah, you look great. I go, yeah, I can see you getting stronger with your hard work and the determination. Proud of you for putting in the effort. And when you're praising effort, it builds routines around wanting to do the activity, not get the result. And that has been changing the dynamic for kids to go, I'm not worried about winning or losing, because I know that losing is a part of how I become a better winner. And so that effort over results has been working better. So I think instant gratification is one of those things where we tried to go to the extreme on this and just let everybody win. And that didn't work. Like, it didn't work. And those people are kind of getting eaten up right now just because the world's not buying their bullshit. And I think that's going to balance itself out probably within our lifetime pretty quick. It seems like it's already going to start shifting the other direction. Like, even my daughters are like, we're not doing that.
I feel like we were raised in a household where results were praised, but hard work was praised as well. So I feel like we got both. And it's hard to say which, but the point is I taught myself how to work hard and how to push myself and how to get done what needed to get done. So at the end of the day, if you work hard, results will come. That's kind of like my mantra is I do have a little
I think I was just scared shitless of our father, so I did the work that was necessary to ensure that he didn't whoop my ass. But that's just my take on it. So.
Yeah, he probably mellowed out a lot by the time I came along.
Yeah, you think you're the last kid, and you're 12 years younger. Of course, he mellowed out.
I'm with you.
I wasn't an accident. I was planned.
Yeah,
I wasn't an accident.
Yeah, okay.
I'm with Patrick. Where they're like, oh, that makes kids.
Yeah. Right. Right.
I mean, it was between me or a swimming pool, and Sean still says I don't keep him cool in the summer. So, but yeah, I appreciate where you're coming from, because the hard work part is something we've always had emphasized, and I've attributed a lot of the things I do to spite. I have a lot of fuck you energy in me in terms of like, if people tell me not to do something, I'm going to do it anyway.
Motivation
to get it
style.
done.
It's one style.
100%.
Defiant.
You can't do that.
That defiant.
Hell,
energy.
I can't.
Yeah. It's one warrior type too.
More so.
It's a useful warrior type. It just got a double-edged sword to it because on one hand, I've got 8 different motivation styles for people. Like, and whenever I train motivation, like it's a 3-step to it, but each is personalized. Because I've got 8 different motivation styles. Just to give you the super short of the ideas, like move away from pain, move towards pleasure, move towards progress, unlocking my potential, getting pissed off, and somebody telling you can't, and I'll show you. I've got 8 of these things. So like, what's your style that makes you go, I'm doing something? But the problem with motivation is it's temporary, and it doesn't sustain itself. So like, if you're like, fuck you, I'll fucking show you, that fuck you energy. And then that person, like, you persevere and you endure and you win and you start doing the thing they say you can't do. Eventually, your hater becomes your teammate. They're like, you're really doing it, Dan. And I believe in you now. And you're like, oh, now you're on my team? You're like, well, yeah, now I see you can do it. And now I believe in you too. You're the man. And you're like, well, now what fuel do I use for this thing? Because that was my whole fuel source. And now you're with me, so now I can't be mad. And I
like to think I have multiple fuel sources. I like to think I got multiple tanks, but that's a good one. That's the one I like to tap into when I really like the chips are stacked against me. Pat, what were you going to say? You had something.
Which point? There's been so many things I just kind of let slide by.
You've been so talkative.
I know. You've turned things to me so often that, it's like, oh, we're on this. So I guess on that point, yeah, of course, there is that spite-driven effect, but I haven't found that as effective as just the pure joy of winning. So,
that'll do it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
It's
being
tough.
successful.
I got a really tough question for you to ponder on, and I've had like experts, like people who have written books and done TED Talks and all this stuff. Like, I've given them this question, and it takes a couple weeks to really tear down. If like the pure joy of winning is such a big part of me, one of the toughest questions to answer is, where does your worth come from?
Well, it comes from me. I create my own value.
Write it down, because you like to think that we're the center of everything, but where does your worth really come from is a lot deeper than I just make it up.
Probably like billboards and advertisements, and that's where my worth comes from. I mean, that certainly is part. That certainly is part of it. Your name on a billboard, or.
But what about how you serve people, or what about how you take care of your family? Or what about what your purpose is in life? Or what about what drives you inside of you? Where does that even come from? And what makes it so you're worthy to be able to do what you do? Like, your worth comes far deeper than I just make it up. And if you have any higher power that you believe in, whether it's law of attraction or God or anything, your worth now becomes far greater than just I'm the center of everything. Like, things start to change dramatically. What, like, as far as love and all these things, how does worth play into that, and where does it come from? Like, it's a lot deeper than just it's me. And I wish it was just me, but when I was answering this, it took me a few weeks to crack in all of the variables of my existence and where my worth comes from. It's a
maybe your question was a little bit maybe it was a little bit lost on me, but I always think of it this way. I'll frame it just slightly differently. Is I'm a jack of all trades. The reason that my worth comes from my ability to be good at everything. I'm not excellent at anything. I'm just good at everything.
That's not true.
I am good. What's that?
You're excellent at many things.
I think
foremost, I'm just going to stop you there. But go ahead. I won't stop you because you haven't talked much. Go.
Yeah, I just think that I'm good at everything that I do, and I try to be better, and that's what provides my worth. I think those are because I believe myself to be a good father. I hope I'm a good husband.
Validation, please.
She's ignoring me.
Will you please validate this immediately?
Yeah, we were on the podcast, but we're talking about worth and our value. So anyways, I think myself as a good husband.
Please tell me I'm good enough right now. Please.
Yeah, there it is. Right. Yeah. And then,
sorry, that broke me. Go ahead.
A good, obviously, I want to be good at what I do. But I also think it's important that I'm a good boss, that I'm a good leader, that I'm a good, mentor to people that I work with. I think that that I'm good at all of those things, and I continue to work at all of those things. And you can't keep all of those balls in the air. Sometimes you fail and drop them because you've got all of those different responsibilities. But trying to learn from those mistakes and moving forward on all of those facets. But that's my worth. I don't think it's that difficult. I think it's pretty easy, to be fair.
You're at a surface level, and I'm just going to help you out with this already. Because now what you did was doing. I got service, helping, father, husband, boss, leader, teacher, and improving. These are all doing. What makes your worth in each of these categories? Where does it all come from? How do you get this? It's not financial, man. You're going to see, do you know how easy it would be? Like, check my bank account. You'll see my net worth. No, you as a human,
I didn't bring up money the whole time. That's not where I find the value.
No, that's what I mean is, I wish it was that easy. But I think that once you start digging in, what kind of father are you, and where does your value come from, as far as where does your worth as a father come from? Is it from your children? Is it from external? Is it from God? Is it from inside? Is it a stack of all these things? What about you as a boss, and what kind of leader, and where does your worth as leadership come from? When you start breaking these categories down, you start finding you, and you are a lot deeper than what you do, because who you are is more than just what we do. And this is important. This is why we're human beings and not human doings. There's something far more valuable inside here. Your heart, your soul, and who you are is more than just what we have done. And this is where it's difficult, because society today says you have to do in order to be valuable. And this is common for men, very common for men. Yeah. Because look at the value change as a teenage boy. We're loved for love me for who I am, to love me for what I provide. And as providers, protectors, presiders, we have to be doers. But once we start, challenging the doing, we find underneath us where our true love and worth comes from is not what we do, but through connection and through deeper meaning. And so it's those things is where the Oogway shit starts coming in, where you're like, why do these old men all talk this way? Well, as we go through, and Dan, I think you were tapping in, and I'll get to the definition of happiness and all that stuff in a second. I have all these answers. But
sure,
you were tapping into, why did I just have the best week ever? But it wasn't because of doing, because you took a lot of doing off the table and you had more being and you felt better. It was something different than just working for a result or doing a task or a service or a job. And there's something more that was fulfilling. There was a deeper connection to other things that made my cup go up versus something that I give in order to be seen as valuable. It is a deep, deep, deep question. And so,
when you initially asked it, I couldn't help but think of my answer to it too. And my thought went back to one I used to have a lot when I was younger. It used to be, I only care about two things in the world. It's every single person on the earth and their opinion of me. And that gets to be a lot. And so, thank you. I appreciate the laugh track. Oh God. But that led to a lot of insecurity. That led to a lot of people pleasing. It led to a lot of me giving away from myself to try to make every single person happy, to answer every call. And there's only so much of me to give.
And even in that answer, your worth comes from other people giving it to me.
Yeah. So now I feel like I have dialed down and back. And I just one of the things about medicine is you're going up a ladder and people are like, oh my God, you're going through the training, you're going through residency, you're going through fellowship, and then your practice, and finally practice should be easier. And no, the administrators are going to load you more and more, and they're going to basically make you scream uncle until you lash out and tell them to dial it back so you can breathe. And I finally got to the point where I was like, oh man, I really just look forward to the time I get to hang out with my friends, when I get to hang out with my wife, when I get to sit down and have a 40-minute appointment with a patient and talk about medicine for 5 minutes and then catch up on their family for 35. And so that is what I look forward to now and what I try to prioritize, because I just being in that moment and feeling the satisfaction of not worrying about everything, of loading up the plate to the point of it tipping over and losing everything. So that's where I have found happiness, but you're
tapping in. You're finding the pieces.
I want to hear But it sounds like you got the answer to the test question, so I'll let you take it from here.
You're on a road right now where this is where, like, this is where the wisdom of, you take the alliance of all your men and you take the advisors all together and go, what have you found so far? What have you found so far? What have you found so far? And we collect all of this data through our experiences. And you're like, I'm actually tapping into this thing and I'm realizing my happiness isn't coming from my achievement. It's coming from my connections. What the fuck have you guys found in this? Because that's weird. You're like, I'm finding these pieces that, like, I thought it was supposed to be from me kicking ass. But when I'm actually resting and just listening to somebody's day and talking about their favorite thing, I've never felt fuller. What is going on here? Why is that doing that?
We're all just researchers bringing our data points together. I love that.
Correct. Well, this is.
I feel everybody's experience is so individualized too.
I run this hard on my guys. I don't try to Bible people very often, but you should read the thing once in a while. And if you never read the Bible and you're like, oh, this is a bunch of bullshit, just start at Matthew. Don't go Old Testament. It gets too fucking weird too quickly. But just start at Jesus and just read through John, because that way, when you're going through John, it makes it so that you can go like, what did Jesus do? If I'm a Christian, I should listen to Christ. Start there. Just start with Jesus. It's a lot easier. I'm going to go with Solomon on this one. I use this with my guys all the time. It's Proverbs 24, and I could probably go 5 and 6, but even just going like 6. This is also NLT, so I know that people get like, which version of that bullshit? So in any case, this one, I know it's been translated 100 times, but this one is still useful, whether it's from the Bible or not. So don't go to war without wise guidance. Victory depends on having many advisors. And this is, of course, when Solomon is referring to the wise are mightier than the strong, and those with knowledge grow stronger and stronger. And the idea on this is, if we're going to go in and try and crack a code, you should be doing what you guys are doing now and taking as many advisors as you can put together, take the brain trust, put all of our information in and see what correlates, what connects, and what seems to be working and not working. Don't go into war without going to the council. At least put the pieces together before you start making an uneducated tactical plan that only sees one point of view. And so I really enjoy hearing, like, this is what is changing for me in my happiness scale. And
for people, if they don't realize, the council is the people you value. They're the advice of the people you care about, whose opinions you seek, and the people that you value in your own life. We all have our own circles, and you got to get advice from the people who know you best.
Well, there's that, but then also people who you can at least appreciate their opinion is not just an opinion, because they're like, well, you actually have worked on some things, or you've been through some stuff.
And some experts like Patrick, myself, and Rick. We've got great advice for a very low payment of, no, I'm just kidding.
For one simple membership. Like, so, like, it's, no, but I think it's really cool. And the reason I bring this up, and Patrick, by no means is it to say slight in any way, because this is an extremely complex answer. And it sounds at first, all of us start off with like, I think it's from me. And then you go like, well, let's challenge. Is it from me? It's like, yeah, shit. But there also is my family and the validation that comes from my daughters and my wife. And all right, so maybe it's not all just me, maybe some them too. But then also, like, I serve people I work with, and I also serve my warriors and how I lead my troops and how I do that. So my worth does come from my leadership too. But how do I lead is what gives me value to my men. And so it's more than just me then. So maybe it's this. And so I started having to go through and I'm like, damn, this is onion layer after onion layer on this damn thing. And that's why when people really dig in, you go, you are far more valuable, Patrick, than just what you have done, because there's a thing inside of here that people love. And it's not that you did something, it's that who you are is important. And that's where you start realizing your worth is far greater than something that I have built or something that I have put together. It's not my programs. It's not my books. It's the things that are going to be left behind is that connection that taught somebody something that made an impact in their life will resonate to their children, and that lesson will resonate to their children. And the ripple effect we do not understand is going to be far deeper than something that I have created, but more of the connection that broke a curse through a generation, and it's those kind of things that make a massive impact that we don't even know that we did.
I can't find it right now, but there's a meme or even just like a Twitter post that I remember that's like, your friends only love you because you put them at ease and you make them happy and laugh and they enjoy spending time with you. They only enjoy you because you're a wonderful, thoughtful, caring, endearing person, Patrick. God, if you weren't all that, no one would want to spend time with you.
Yuck.
You're a lot faster with the sound effects than I am.
I got a board over here. I just hit the button.
Yeah, he's got a soundboard. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're professional.
I got a whole soundboard over here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's true.
And actually, I got a few of them that'll tag us in with Disney and stuff. I use when you're going through and you're doing battles with people. Certain battles are curses that need to be broken, and we have to smash them. Certain are things that come out that you need to fight. There's demons and monsters inside of us that you have to fight that and know which kind it is to beat it. And then some things, some battles, you just have to let go. And let's just say I have a Disney button where I tell people to let it go. That will get us flagged real quick.
Yes. We'd like the video to stay up for people to enjoy.
I'd like to at least have the opportunity to monetize.
There you
go.
So anyways, I'll leave that one there for now. I will swing back to your original thing with happiness, and we'll get into doubt if you guys want to. I can show you how to break a curse in real time.
As much time as you got, I'm fine with it. It can be a mega episode. I'll edit the hell out of it.
My next my next podcast is not until 7 tonight. I'm actually recording with a veterans group tonight.
Well, I don't think we got that much time.
No, I'm just saying.
My wife might get mad at me.
No,
I might upset the boss.
Yeah. With this though, I'll get into what happiness even is, and you guys have been tapping into parts of it, and it's one of those things that I have to go into. What's the highest level that I can look at for someone to say, here's what happiness is? And so, Arthur C. Brooks, if he's listening to this, I've got a couple of his books, or he's a Harvard professor, and he teaches a class on happiness. And I watched some of his videos and checked out some of his stuff, and I do kind of challenge him directly. I think that he's not 100% correct. Even if he's very correct, the way he does it is not usable. And so if you take the word happiness, I think all of us have noticed that this is a subjective word. Every single person is going to say, well, happiness to me is, and we have different layers of what happiness is. And even through this, we've gone through multiple layers, everything from, being able to find more sleep or connection with family or even winning or whatever it is. We got happiness mixed in with all of these things. And he says, well, if that's the answer and a subjective term, well, here's how he teaches happiness. First, you got to get into Harvard. Easy.
Easy, accessible.
Easy.
Everyone can do that.
His class for happiness sells out within a half hour. So you just got to be within the first people to get into that registration group. Simple. And then once you're in there, he teaches the 3 different pieces for happiness. I hope you guys have your pens ready, because this is the key to life here. It's satisfaction, enjoyment, and purpose. And I'm like, wait a second. Aren't those 3 subjective terms too? So wait a second.
Are we just saying words now?
Wait a second.
Yes.
Hold on a second. You told me a subjective word. In order for me to get this, I have to A, get into Harvard, B, be the first ones in the class, and then C, I have to learn 3 more subjective terminologies over the course of the semester. And then I'll find happiness? I know people who don't know any of these definitions who are happy as hell. So I don't know if that's the way. And so this means the answer has got to be far more simple and far more practical to practice. It's got to be way easier. Now, the answer is not actually very flashy or beautiful, as most simple solutions are not. But if you practice it, it's beautiful every day. And so the answer is, the definition of happiness is the awareness of the blips in life that are found in nouns and sometimes verbs. That doesn't sound right. That sounds fucking stupid. That's so dumb. You know what I'm talking about. Let's do it. Let's go word for word. All right. Awareness means I've seen it. At least you know it's there. And so I have an awareness of there's a thing. What's a blip? A blip is by definition, a temporary thing. This means it is not meant to last. It is meant to be here and is meant to go. Even the root word for happiness, hap, like happens, happy. Hap, by definition, means temporary. It's old, if you get into the breakdown of the words. So if you get into hap means temporary. So a blip is temporary. Life is how we measure our time. So it's a temporary moment in our life that's found in nouns. What's a noun? People, places, things. Verbs is things that we do. Like I love skiing, I love bowling, I love dancing. Pick a thing. Okay, so where is it? This means they're happening all the time, all around you, everywhere. You can have your favorite pen. That makes me happy. We're having a blip right now. We are right now having a conversation on 7/16/23. This day will never happen ever again, ever. This day will be this day. This is moment. Yeah. There will never be another day that's 7/16/23. That'll never happen again. And in this minute, right now it's 4:08 Central. That's where I'm at. My time with you guys, I'm in a blip right now. I get to have this amazing moment with you guys right now. This time, and we're immortalizing it, which is fantastic. We get to take this blip and extend this blip, but it's only going to come and then it's going to go and we're going to have it and then it will no longer be here. But do we have an awareness that you're in a beautiful and temporary moment while it's happening? Because if you can catch that joyous laugh with your kid, that moment that you and your wife are snuggling, if you notice that this is supposed to happen and then be done, do you recognize how fragile and beautiful the real time that's happening is? And this goes back to Patrick when you're talking about presence in the present. I need to be in the moment because that moment where my kid is doing the thing they're doing, this will never happen on this day at this time ever again. And before I know it, they're moved out. And even more crazy is the numbers when a kid moves out at 18. The average, if you round up, is they see their parents 7%. That means it goes from a high percentage to in single digit percentage of see their parents. And think about when I went to college and then how often after I moved out and then I see my parents once every couple months and then maybe once a year and maybe once every 2 years, depending on the distance that people move away. And then it goes into, well, what's the percentage of the chance that you're going to see your kids that much? And these are the blips that are happening now that we're sometimes, and I'm just as guilty. I'm in writing or battle or thinking about a thing that I want to do when I'm sitting in front of my girls who are being silly with each other. And I'm missing it because I'm missing my blips because my awareness is distracted to somewhere else. And I'm missing these temporary moments that will last only for this small, tiny fraction of time. And that makes them precious and beautiful and rare. But we bypass them all the time. And it's simple things. It can just be coffee in the morning. It can be a song that made you happy. It could be just somebody who you saw who made you go, hey. It could be a hug. They happen all the time.
I just wanted to share a little story. I remember one of my most inner peace Master Oogway moments that I had was when I was in college. I got into the habit of every Tuesday and Thursday based off my schedule that, sophomore year of getting a cup of coffee, getting a scone from my favorite bakery, and then sitting in the sun and calling my mom and dad and talking to them. And I just remembered how at peace and I just in those 15 minutes would never think about labs, would never think about tests, would never think about work. And I felt like that was I'm not a meditation person. I'm not a sit and om my way through problems, but I do like to detach and feel present when I do find those inner peace type of moments. And it's hard to attain that nowadays. I've been working at it, but those are the moments. I feel like the only thing to backpack on what you're saying is I feel like there has to be an element of gratitude in that awareness to be thankful for those blips because they do come and go. You have to be thankful for the good things and in a weird way, sometimes I'm grateful for the bad things, not all of them, because they just provide a contrast that makes me appreciate the good. The stressful weeks, a
little bit of causality. That gets a little bit deeper. So you're right.
And not to complicate an already complicated thing, but to be happy in the moment when they come, to appreciate them and to be thankful for them. That's where I find my happiness comes from a lot.
Correct. And this is why I had to add in the awareness piece to it, because the blips in life that are found in nouns, it's so the temporary moments in my life that are found in people, places, things, or actions that we're doing. Sure, but if you don't see them, you can't have gratitude. You can't
appreciate them if you don't see them.
Yeah, and so we have to go hey, did you notice that you're in a beautiful moment right now? Did you notice that you're holding a blessing or you're wearing a blessing? Or did you notice that we're sitting in a blip at this moment? Did you even know that it's there to even have gratitude?
Patrick, what was your most recent blip? What was your biggest happiness moment recently, if you can think of any?
Well, I'm just happy to be here. So.
Where's the button?
You all teed it up for me. I had to, as soon as you hit it back to me, I had to use that one. There's no way I could put it. Yeah, I mean, getting that email on Friday that said case dismissed. I mean, that's a moment there. I mean, today.
Actually, I hit two buttons.
I heard that. That was your podcast.
That was my intro.
See, even when I'm talking, folks, I'm not talking. It's not my time.
Pat.
Yeah.
Go.
Today, my wife and I went grocery shopping, and that was fun.
That's awesome.
I mean, she's the only person on the planet that I enjoy going grocery shopping with. I don't enjoy going grocery shopping with myself. So there it is.
That's awesome. Happens
so those are the types of things. Those are probably that would be the most recent. But yeah, I mean, last weekend with the kids, just all laughing and making fun of each other. I mean, I can think of a number of them over this past week, just off the top of my head. But yeah.
That's beautiful, man. And they're all over. And this is why awareness is the very first weapon that I teach people to use, or even the best tool. Like, it's the first training that we do in the Warrior's Way is, did you see it? Do you see it? Do you see it? It's in here and it's out there. Do you see it? That's everywhere. They're all over the place at any given time. And so you're actually surrounded by them. And sometimes, and Dan, to your testament, you're correct. Sometimes the losses raise our awareness tenfold to the blessings. And sometimes we have to have tragedy because the good's not as good without the bad. And that's why you see people who are so blessed be so miserable, because they don't have any of these like comparison as far as like, oh, I've never had it so bad. But you watch these riches to rags stories. You see the movies where like they were on top of the world and then they lost everything and then they found themselves. Like, it's not until you have like, oh shit, there's loss. We've had some dogs here. I've got 2 dogs now, and we got a little puppy. He was a Chiweenie. His name was Leo. His name Leonidas. That was.
I love that.
A Chihuahua wiener dog.
He was a Chiweenie. He was half wiener dog, half Chihuahua, and Leo was a trip. Let's see if I can find.
Is that what you had? Is that the little raptor you have walking around your kitchen, Pat?
No, I don't know what she's a mix of. What's our Chihuahua a mix of? Hard to say. Yeah, she's mostly Chihuahua. That's for sure. Maybe Terrier, I suppose.
Here's some photos of this little dude. So this is the file for Leo. This is here when I see if it pulls up and I can share him. This is when I had to cut his hair. He was a little troublemaker. Oh, you guys can't see that. You guys can just see the thing. So this one in here. This is when I had to cut his hair. This little dude right here, though. This was my guy. He was naughty as fuck. Man, would he chew on everything. And this is my other dog, Apollo. This is Aries. And so Leonidas, he was my little dude. He was awesome. Cool little dog. And this little guy, we were in the backyard and he must have seen a rabbit or something. And we live on a main road, but I've trained all my dogs. Like, they know the areas to stay in, so I don't have to leash them. We were in the backyard. There's no cars back there. He must have seen something and took off, and I lost him. I'm sitting here with the other 2 dogs. I'm like, where's Leo at? He's never gone like this. Took off, ran, and it's probably close to 100 yards for our area for him to even get there. It's a long run. And by the time I saw him, he was already in the road and got hit. And his head was smashed. The girls didn't see it. I was here alone, but I had to take care of all of this. And this was one of the, this dog and my other dog, Zeus, who was an actual little teacup Chihuahua. And he was probably the sweetest thing I've ever had in my life. He was actually killed by Andrea's dog for being food aggressive. Like, she was just mad and grabbed him by the head and killed him. Like, it's these moments where these little dogs, these tiny little puppies, were like some of the most beautiful things I've ever had in my life. And like I said, I grew up in Sparta. I grew up in abuse. I grew up in abandonment. I grew up in a tough neighborhood. I grew up in Detroit. In the movie 8 Mile, I was only 2 miles from that. I was at 8 Mile and Telegraph is where I grew up. I didn't grow up in like Sunnyside, suburbans. Like, this wasn't a nice place, and even my girls, when I talk about where we grew up and they meet people from where I grew up and they tell them the stories, it sounds like when we were lost boys and Captain Hook would try to capture us. And they're like, that's not real. I'm like, no, it was a real place and it was not fun. Well, when I had a loss like these ones where like even my dog Aries, he's a dick. My dog Aries is a kid. And everybody doesn't like him, but he's my
name kind of conveys it.
Yeah, I mean he's God of War. So like he's kind of dickish. And so he's my shadow though. He's my guy. And I used to be a little rough on him because I'm like, damn it, boy, what are you doing? But after like some of these losses, I'm like, I gotta soften up on all these things. And I softened up on my girls. I softened up on my dogs. I softened up a lot because I had something that was so beautiful and so sweet and so naughty. Chew up all our socks and everything. All this stuff was naughty, but he was just pure love. And it was taken in a second. It's just gone. That's dead. And it raised my awareness of how fragile and how beautiful all of these moments around us are, because at any given moment it's gone. And here we are getting mad at things. Here we are getting salty at somebody or snapping at someone when like we're all just trying to do our best, but nobody's trying to fuck with you. We're just taking it personal, like I said earlier. People take it personal when they're going through tough times, and it's part of their attack system for coping. But really, we're doing so many harms to our blips. We're in the middle of blessings all around us. Instead of being able to have our awareness high enough to go like, look how many good things are here. You're still healthy. Or having perspective where the bad is there to make it so you see the good. One of my friends, Ben Pearson, he was born with a hole in his spine. He's going to be doing speeches soon. He's never walked a day in his life. Never is from the waist down paralyzed. Never walked. And he's had to go through extreme depression. He was up over 400 pounds. He's lost a bunch of weight and he's getting his life together. And he's so many trials and tribulations. And we're walking around pissed, angry, but he's never known what the grass feels like on his toes. He had to get one of his legs amputated, but he was afraid to be put under. And so they cut his leg off while he was awake. Like, here we are. You get to go for a walk after this. You can stand and hold your kid. You can go and walk you can go down the stairs. Like, we are sitting here with blessings and blessings and blessings, but we don't have an awareness that we're surrounded by thousands of them all the time because we'll focus on the one thing that I didn't like.
No, it's so true. I want to add one thing to that because I think I'm a creature of habit. I'm a creature of patterns, and I think that we all fall into patterns. We fall into routines, and if your routine is focusing on the negative, if your routine is getting upset, getting salty, like you're saying, you're going to fall out of the habit of seeing the blips, of seeing the moments, of appreciating them for what they are. Happiness, I think, is like hygiene. It's a practice. It's something you work at. It's something you do. And if you focus on those moments and spend less time trying to focus on the negative, you will create happiness. You will create a pattern. You will create behaviors, and then you will create the habit of happiness. It's not an easy thing because life will try to break you. I mean, life is hard. It hasn't stopped being hard. We live in one of the best times in history, and arguably we live in a very challenging time still too. But I like that quote, life is hard. I saw another quote too that said, people say life is hard, but what are they comparing it to? Yeah. That's great. That's all you got.
Compared to what? Life?
Again, comparison is the thief of happiness. If you're going to compare it to other people's lives, you're going to be unhappy. You got to focus on your own life and focus on your own gratitude and moments. I don't want to take up more of your time. I don't want my wife to be upset at me because I said this would be an hour.
Let's be real. That's really what it is. I'm like, I still got another hour.
I want to spend time with my kid. Yeah.
I got more time for this. Screw those other blips, man. I'm ready.
Pat, I want you to close us out. What thoughts do you have, if anything, that you want to end with? You're still here.
Yeah, I am. I think that being in the moment, being present is a challenge for us because of how many distractions exist. But yeah, one of the things that you said that, I can summarize and have said before, I mean, life is an asterisk. It's what you make it. So if you want to make it negative, if you want negativity in your life, if you want to focus on all the horrible things that happen to you, that's how your life is going to be made of. But if you focus on the good things and the positives and enjoy those times and try to create the blips, you know, you're going to have a happy life. Yeah, you know, I guess that's just the only thing I can think of to add to what you said.
Well,
beautiful.
Well
done.
Thank you, Pat, for the closing statements. Well said. Thank you, Rick, for being here. I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man and you do a lot of good work and a lot for people. Psychologist, world-renowned, working in multiple countries to help people. He has his own podcast, Battlefield of the Mind, founder of the Way of the Warrior mindset.
Warrior's Way mindset. That'll be a totally different dude if you go the other way.
Oh,
the Way of the Warrior, some other guy.
Warrior Way mindset. Got it. All right. Thank you. I didn't know if you had any other last plugs or anything you wanted to pitch, Rick.
Well, you can check us out on the warriorswaymindset.com. We got a lot of stuff out there, but check us out on the Battlefield of the Mind. And we have programs. We've got groups. We do real coaching. It's not just, we don't do entertainment. We actually do the transformational work. And so this is just one way to show people that there is a place. We are creating a movement for men. I do focus more on men. I've had women's groups. I do refer my women out to my women who have gone through training with us, but right now we are working on men. We're unifying men. We're creating good leaders, working through the isolation and the people who are all alone in this world, trying to just be a cowboy and be a man and do it all yourself. It's not true. Together we are always stronger. And so between us unifying and Patrick's powerful Raptor Chihuahua, together we're all strong.
There it is. Thank you, Rick, for being here. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you, Pat, for joining me for this. You know I love doing this with you. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in for our 3rd season finale. We'll be back later in 2023. But in the meantime, follow us on social media. Comment on what you want to hear about, what you want us to talk about. Thank you for your time. You know, like, follow, subscribe, etc. on all major podcast platforms. And we will see you in the next episode. Take care.
Click on the button and you can become the hero in your own story. It's time to start making the choices to change. And the evolution that you're going to do begins with choosing the next step. This is the way. And together, we're always stronger.